Well, I think it is a fine line. I think you got to coach it. You got to teach it. You got to educate. You know, we talked a lot about it today in the team meeting. You can play on the edge, but not go over the edge. You can. I mean, we've seen it. There's been times we've done it consistently this camp, but you know, the standard is the standard, and we're not going to change that. And when you don't do the standard, then, you know, we're going to hold them accountable. But it's got to be about winning. It's got to be about what's best for the team. It's got to be about putting the team ahead of yourself. And, yeah, there's things that happen. Guys get pushed and shoved, and they get pissed off and all that stuff. But what they need to learn now is that the minute you throw a punch, you're getting ejected from the game. And that hurts our ability to win. And so when you look at the film, you know, you don't always see the first punch. You don't see all that thing. You don't see the stuff that maybe went on 20 plays before. But the mental discipline and the mental toughness to not let it get about just yourself and getting revenge and whatever that is the standard. And the standard is play on the edge, do the thing you're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, it's about winning. And because of that, you have to put the team first. I do. I mean, I think, you know, we've always had a very talented roster. We have a very talented roster right now. You know, you can take the road of, oh, hey, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And, you know, screw that. We're not doing that. Like, we're going to have hard conversations. That's the way this culture is built. And, yeah, you know, I agree with what CD said. And, you know, it takes discipline to win a world championship. And that is the goal. That is the objective. And we've, like I said, in most of our practice, we've had that discipline. We lost it a little bit yesterday, so the players, therefore, had to be reminded about it.
Until DLLS Cowboys, you won a world championship. That was, I asked CD, what was the PC version of your message? And it was basically, do you want to be champions? Can you expound on being champions and how that plays out in this discipline?
Yeah, I think, Clarence, just how hard it is, man. I mean, how hard it is to win a championship. And the difference between being a champion and coming in second or getting to the playoffs and not winning or not qualifying for the playoffs. I mean, this is a National Football League. We all realize how talented everybody is in this league, but there's an edge that's created. And some of the best teams I've been on, they have that discipline. They have the edge to be able to play a certain way, physical brand of football that we're going to play where we're attacking and we're playing to the echo of the whistle. But you know, I talk very openly with these guys. You know, I'm honest with them. I tell them how I feel. Am I always right? Nope. Sometimes I go and I'm saying, yeah, I ripped that guy's ass, and you know, he didn't really deserve it. And then I take accountability for it. So we as a coaching staff, we're no different. If our energy's low out there, or we're not doing what we're supposed to do, and the drills aren't set up the right way, and you know, then I'll get on them as well. And we have to be better at times as well. It's not just the players, but what we're trying to do and what we're expecting to do is extremely, extremely difficult. And, you know, if you don't think about it, talk about it, and prepare for it every day, then you're going to get behind.
Nate Thomas' first day out, how did he look?
Did good, solid. I think both he and Awesome did a good job. Today we'll find out a little bit more. Their assignments were really good yesterday. They were, you know, really good on that. Being in pads today will help. You know, you get a little bit more of an evaluation in pads, but I would say both those guys are good. It's the ops to be with, you know, with Dak and hear some of the communication things that he does that, you know, for a young player, he hasn't been with him, and some of the mannerisms and things that are a little different maybe than what Joe and Will do is good for a young player to hear.
Brian Todd Archer with ESPN. Calling plays, doing it out here, it's been a while since you've done that. What's that been like for you?
It's great. You know, definitely knocking some of the rust off. You know, I, you know, got a personnel grouping wrong yesterday in one of the call-it periods. Got a formation wrong in a different period. So sometimes that happens, but you do it now. That's why you do move the balls. If you just script everything in practice, Todd, it's like easy. You're reading plays. And so I think it's good for me. But I think, you know, doing it for 14 of the past, 18 years, it's something that you pick up on it pretty quick. And I think, again, the fact of Dak and I, you know, our working relationship, and we've been together for a couple years now, that definitely helps. But you definitely knock the rust off. And it's definitely a little bit competitive and you want to win the drill, but at the same time, there's a flow and a rhythm, and it's a little harder because not everybody's got, the personnel groupings the head coach or the coaches don't have on their personnel or their headset, so they can't hear the personnel. You got to yell that out. So it's all good practice for the preseason and beyond.
And then we've asked you a bunch about the running backs and how it's going to play out. Do you have a preference? I mean, I know when you had the Jets, it was Thomas Jones carried it 300 times, but then when you're in Seattle, you had, I think one year had 3 different running backs carried more than 90 times or something like that.
Yeah. I really don't have a preference. I think you have to look at your roster when we get closer to opening day, and you look at it and you say, okay, what are we looking at? I think in Seattle you're talking about, Chris Carson and J.D. McKissick, C.J. Prosise. We had Rashad Penny. I mean, we've had a number of guys. I think you're always trying to build a very competitive room, but to make a decision a day of do I have a preference? Nope. It's kind of what works and what fits your personnel, and it's still too early to tell, but I really like where we're at from a running back standpoint. I've mentioned again to you Hunter Lepke and his versatility, and he got some carries yesterday, which is great. And so we feel like that stable of backs that we've built is a really fun competition to keep an eye on, not just through training camp, but into the preseason and beyond.
I'm sure with the Athletic, did some of that red zone work, some nice catches from both George and CD. Just kind of where do you think those two are so far in the game?
No, I think they're both doing good. We definitely want to do a little bit more red zone emphasis these next couple of days. The first install, we were a little bit not off, but behind in some things and not real clean. So that's why we did that red zone period. Yesterday we adjust our practice schedule some based off of what we need, and get together with the coordinators every night and say, hey, let's maybe add this period, let's add that period. But CD's having an incredible camp. That's what he does, the way he's practicing, the intensity that he's practicing at. I think I've mentioned that many times before. When some of your best players practice the hardest, it sets the standard, and no one below them can not meet that standard. And so I think he's really bought into that. He's excited about that, and whether it's short, long, wherever it is, you watch him finish with the ball, and that's terrific. And then GP, I thought he did a really nice job yesterday. He had the deep ball a couple days ago. On the far field, the wall field as we call it, and then a couple things in the red zone yesterday. Just those two guys being on the same side is very difficult for a defense to handle.
And then with Trayshawn Holden had a nice one-handed grab back there. What have you thought of him?
Yeah, great catch. He's doing a really good job. Obviously, he has a little bit of experience with junior, and so I think that helps. But ball skills are terrific. He's got good size. He plays the game the right way, and it's always exciting when you see young guys step up and make plays, especially in those tight red zone areas where there's not a lot of space to work with.
Nick Harris, 4-Star Telegram. Obviously, you guys have had a lot of success in finding the spring league guys over the last couple of years. You have a couple more here in camp that have played well. What do you think works so well for you guys to be able to find the right fits here in the spring?
Well, I think, it never stops, as you know, Nick. I mean, 365, 24/7. The scouts are out here. What I love about having the scouts and personnel guys out here is literally we have a trailer, they have a trailer. It's so easy for us to communicate about what we want. I think the more we're around the personnel guys, they learn even more, like what Dave Borgonzi wants in linebackers, or what Andre Curtis is looking for with the secondary pieces, and I think that definitely helps. But there's communication, and then you bring the guys in and there's a workout. But we don't just go off the workout. We go off the film. We go off the UFL tape and not just the workout. Guy might have a bad day. Guy might, maybe guy didn't sleep well the night before. He got in late. So, the workout when we bring guys in is just part of the process. But I'd say the bigger thing is the comprehensive piece of, okay, what's the film look like? What do we think about him coming out in college if it's a relatively younger player? And then certainly, how they moved around in the workout.
Since Kenneth Murray has been out, what have you liked about the linebackers stepping into increased roles?
Marist doing a great job. I mean, Jack, Sanborn's been, awesome. I think, the last 2 days ago or so, the last day in pads, Shamar James was, really fast, dissecting things and making plays. But, again, I think, Gonzo is a hell of a coach, and he's been around Flus for a long time. Those guys work really well together in that room. Those guys are extremely well coached. But it's the instincts. It's the ability to dissect things, the ability to make plays and show up in a hurry. And, that jumps out when you watch the film.
Tommy Yards, DallasCowboys.com.
gave Jaden Blue some run with the ones yesterday. What did you think of that, and what has he done up to this point to earn those reps?
Well, we're competing every day. You guys are seeing us move guys around. Jay, is getting some reps with the first team defensive lineman, and talked a little bit about Jaden and how he's kind of really picked up just the confidence and the understanding of what we're trying to do and the understanding of the preparation and things like that. And when guys do that, you reward them. You reward them when they do that. And if it's not to that standard, then there's consequences as well and moving guys around. But the quickness and the ability to accelerate in the hole, I keep going back to that, it's just different. I mean, he's got incredible lateral agility and quickness, and when he jump cuts or moves laterally, he's able to get to top speed in a hurry, and he doesn't need a lot of space. He reminds me of he's a larger version, a smaller player, but, the quickness and acceleration of Darren Sproles, and I don't use that lightly. I mean, Darren was freaky with his quickness and acceleration and speed, and I think Jaden has some of those traits in terms of just he's electric when he gets the ball. And what I really like about him more than anything is probably the way I see him working in between the tackles. He's not just a perimeter player. He's a guy that can run in between the tackles in the A gaps with gap schemes, things like that, and still be extremely productive.
He was a guy in college that only had one game of 18 or more offensive touches. Do you feel like in the NFL he can be a guy who has 20, 25 a game week by week?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see there's any reason not to. Again, I don't want to certainly put any limitations on him. I mean, they've had some good backs at Texas that he played alongside and with, and a couple of them are the best in the league right now, or arguably the best in the league, talking about Bijan and guys like that. But, I have no reason to think that he doesn't have the ability to impact games with us. What that play number is exactly, I don't know. I won't put a number on it, but we have no reason to think he can't do that.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. Obviously, you got a lot of weapons in the passing game. As a play caller, how do you balance who is first in the progression, or hey, in this time we want to get a ball to Pickens on this route? How do you kind of balance that?
Well, obviously, each play that we have has a progression. Whether it's a true progression where you have a starting point that's defined and you're putting a guy in that spot, and that's the first read. If he's closed or not open, you go to the next guy, and then the next guy, you just basically work across the read. But like when we're doing move the ball periods, I literally look in the huddle and I call plays for people. Like, that's kind of the way that I work. I'm going to call plays based on who's in the huddle. So if I look in the huddle and, okay, hey, I got CD and George, and I got a lot of options. Or, hey, I want to get a ball to Ferg. I think that that's the best play callers do that. You go in with a plan. You go in with a game plan of, hey, what you want to attack in certain areas. But at the end of the day, just based on who's in the huddle, who's feeling it. Some guys just, they're feeling it, man. It's like, that guy's playing great. Then you call plays that you know he's high up in the priority of the quarterback's read. But the quarterbacks, they have to be unbiased, and they have to, trust their progression and read their progression. And then there's other reads that we have where they have a choice to work one side or the other, and it's based off of not just matchup, but coverage tells and techniques and what's the safety doing, and is it two high, is it one high? All very, complicated stuff.
We think a lot externally about who's an X, who's a slot, who's a Z. We've seen CD and George kind of doing a lot of motion. How interchangeable, I guess, are they at this point?
Yeah, we don't really believe in the X, Z, H, whatever you want to call those positions in the nomenclature. It's like, hey, man, we have an offense and we have concepts, and you have to know the full concept. And if you get stuck at this spot, then you should know what to do if you get stuck at that spot. And that's the expectation to all of our guys from the very beginning. So, I don't think any of them, really worry about it. They'll play all the positions which you've seen, and then, of course, the ability to move them around makes it incredibly difficult on the defense to find them and then match up with them.
Bill Jones, CBS Sports Texas. Does your wife watch your press conferences, and if so, did she have any reaction to your comments from yesterday?
She's kind of busy right now getting my daughter ready to go off to college, figure out what empty nesting is going to look like. I don't know if she saw that, but I think she would not be surprised. The temper that I showed yesterday, she has kind of a temper like that at times. But thanks for bringing that up, because now it's not one day and the news is gone. Now it's the second day. So if she missed it yesterday, she definitely knows. Honey, don't watch yesterday's press conference if you are listening.
Mike Ducey, Fox 4.
CD talked yesterday about how much he admires Dak in the way that he can shut out the exterior noise, social media and the like. Now as a head coach, obviously you'll be hearing some noise that you've never had to deal with before. Have you gotten advice from anybody as to how to best deal with that exterior noise in the new position?
Well, I think it's great that CD recognizes that. I think, we all deal with noise. I mean, it's part of the life that we've chosen. This is a huge brand, the biggest brand in all of professional sports, and we welcome that. We don't shy away from that. But it's cool for CD to recognize his brother and say, hey, Dak handles a lot. But, in terms of my situation, I'm pretty transparent. I'm who I am. And when we win, there'll still be things that I'll want to improve. And when we lose, there'll be things that we have to fix. But the noise, I think growing up with a dad that was a head coach, that definitely helps. Kind of what you're walking into. But, again, our focus is truly on the men in that locker room, the coaches, the players. And, we just want to win. And we want to win for each other. And when we do that, the noise will be less. But there's always going to be noise.
I'm guessing you don't have a lot of time for social media. Do you pay
No.
attention to it at all?
I really don't. Not much. I ask the players from time to time kind of what's going on. But, no, not really. I've got a couple 20-year-old kids, so they send me things I try to open. Sometimes I can't open them because I'm not on Instagram or some of those things, TikToks, those things like that. I'm like, hey, I can't open it. What is it? And they're like, never mind. So I'm like, okay, I just move on to the next thing.
Mike Leslie, WFA. I know he's been a little bit in and out because of his wife and his new baby and whatnot. What have you seen from Duron Bland so far, both from a football perspective as well as taking on maybe more of a vocal role in that quarterback?
Yeah, locked in. I mean, he really is. The flexibility. He's like what we were talking about with the receivers, George and CD. And, Duron can play anywhere. He can play corner, field corner, boundary corner. He can play nickel. I would say he's locked in. Duron is a quieter personality, and that's great. He's an incredible young man. But, he leads more by example. Is he a leader? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't watch Duron practice without going, okay, that guy gets it. That guy's really, really good. But again, I go back to what I always say. We want these guys to be themselves and be authentic. And he communicates. He might not be as loud as, say, Keemon Hall or somebody like that, but he's a great communicator. But in terms of leadership and leading by example, Duron is right up there at the top of the list, man. Just his work ethic, his professionalism, the love and passion for the game of football is top notch.
Relative to the versatility that you mentioned that he has, feels like this is a year where maybe you need that more with the absence of Jordan Lewis. Where is he in that evolution? I know he did it his rookie year, but now it's kind of circling back to that in some regards, working on the inside.
Yeah, very comfortable. I was actually talking to him about it the other day. He's got a great feel. He, can play all those spots. We're going to move him around. We do a lot of things from a disguise element, which is good. So you can see him even in a game playing different spots. You might see him in one nickel package where he's playing the boundary corner, and then you might see him in another nickel package where he's playing in the slot. And there'll be times we're matching people up on certain receivers, and he'll be following a guy. But that's the flexibility that a great player like Duron has. And not only that, but he owns that. He wants to do that. He wants to be in those positions to try to take away an opponent's best players.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio, 105.3 The Fan. I want to go back to Nate Thomas for just a moment because he played left tackle in college. But when he came in here last year as a rookie, been playing guard, and I think it's to your point about power in the run game and moving the dot and stuff. And yet, when he came back here, now he's tackle. So was that something that you and Connor saw in him to move him back to tackle, or more what you had personnel-wise on the inside?
Great question, Christy. When he came here, obviously we had Tyler, Guyton. We had drafted Guyton, and obviously had Terrence on the other side, and we did see a big, powerful guard. I mean, the ability to keep the pocket firm for the quarterback and get movement and displacement in the run game is really, really important. But just watching Nate work and prepare this offseason, seeing him train, and seeing the length and the size that he has, and actually his feet for a 330-plus pound man. It was probably the second or third day of OTAs. We were like, hey, we need to put him outside, and see what he can do. And when we watched it that very first day, we were like, whoa. It literally jumped off the film. We were like, okay. And if you talk to Nate, he's like, hey, coach, I'll play wherever. But I'm probably most comfortable playing left tackle, and that's kind of what he has the most experience playing. But it did jump off the film at us when we kind of, moved him out. And then we're like, okay, well, let's leave him out there for a while, because sometimes with a young player, they all are going to be moved around and have to be put in spots to learn and have flexibility. But when we moved him out there, we're like, hey, let's let him focus on one spot for a while. And I think that helped him with his confidence. And, of course, now he's getting the opportunity to run with the ones. And I think he'll do a great job in that role.
Just a quick follow-up on that with trying to stay locked in, but like a jumbo package. I know Austin was doing a lot of that early here with Nate being.
Oh, yeah. He has that type of athleticism. We've got a number of guys that we've rolled in there. Sadiq Charles doing a great job. Awesome does a great job. Could Nate do that? Absolutely. TJ Bass is getting some work at that. And so, yeah, but he has the traits definitely to do that.
Cowboys TV. There are different philosophies throughout the league when it comes to divvying up snaps and rewarding certain guys, or if you keep it as a string competition top down. You mentioned with Jaden Blue earlier, him earning those first team reps. Is that a philosophy you've always believed in? Is that element of, if you're doing it right, you should still be rewarded even though it may not be a permanent switch?
Absolutely. I think, these guys, they're going to compete every day. That's the way they're wired. That's the central theme of the program. They're going to do that. But if they're making strides and doing great things and they're not getting the opportunity to move up a depth chart, then I would imagine, I haven't asked them, but I would imagine you'd get pretty frustrated. Man, I'm doing all these great things. Coach keeps giving me compliments in the film room and all those different things, but yet I'm still sitting here and doing things. And, when we kind of break off in the evening times, we do what's called two spots. So we literally have basically the entire team working. So ones will go on one field, twos will go on another field, and they'll work against each other. And, we consistently move guys around from 1 to 2, and I think that's important. That okay, if I'm doing good and I'm making strides to be better and I'm keeping the standard and I'm showing up on film, the coaches mean what they say. If you compete every day, you're going to be rewarded for that, and so I think he's done that, and he's not the only one. So, but I don't think if you don't do that, then I think the players look at you and they're like, well, I'm doing all this stuff, and why am I still over here on field 2, or why am I running with a third team? And you don't want that.
In talking with former players from Pete Carroll's system in the past too, he's been very advocating toward that as well. Was there an instance maybe in your time under Pete where there was another player like that earned his opportunity and made it a permanent switch?
There were so many with Pete, just because, Pete, is such a competitive guy, and we did it all the time. I don't, not a name doesn't jump out at me, but like it was all the time, and it was pointed out. And today, when you're looking at some competitive stuff, right, we're going to do some one-on-one stuff, and we have scripted matchups. We want to see certain guys work against certain guys, and why? Because there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And so I think that's one of the things that when you're looking at your roster, okay, how do we let these guys truly compete? And so it doesn't change, and it should be a fun thing for the fans to watch. I'm thrilled that it's Hero Appreciation Day. We got a bunch of first responders, a bunch of active military people here, these people that, literally get a chance to come out and hopefully, feel our love and excitement and, for what they do for us and for our families. And so it should be a hell of a day. A little 2-hour practice with pads on, some one-on-one, so it should be a great day.
Hey, Coach. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. You touched on it a bit, and it's impossible to not notice him taking first-team reps. He's a very large human being, Jay Thoia. What are you seeing from him so far as what stands out the most, be it his quickness for his size, whatever the case may be, and what kind of impact can he make for you as early as year one?
The size, the pad level, it was funny. I was talking to Cooper Beebe, and we were doing some different things yesterday, and a couple times Jay got on Cooper's right hand, which is his snap hand, and I was asking him about it, and he's like, that's a large man shooting the gap. And, I'm going to get my hand there, but that's a big, powerful guy. But I think the pad level he's playing with right now, Patrick, is really impressive, and he's just a talented guy, man. Talented guy that's, still learning the system. But when you have a guy like that can penetrate and be disruptive, and but it was funny for me to hear Cooper talk about it. Like he felt it like, whew, that's tough.
Coach, I
take that as an important element of, what you folks do on offense? We've gotten to see in spurts, guys do hurry up, kind of utilize the huddle, quick to line, those things. Can you teach us why that is an important element of a game and why you value that in this offense?
Sure. We have multiple tempo packages. There's different reasons that you do it. It's basically to keep the defense, off balance. You do it to kind of make the defensive coordinator make a quick decision. Generally, if, let's say you're going from second to third down and you want to go fast. Well, sometimes you keep elite pass rushers off the field, because every team has, wholesale changes that they try to make on third down because they want to get fresh legs in there, guys that haven't been playing on first, second down to try to go get after the quarterback. And but you also simplify some of the blitz patterns that you'll see from a defense. Flus has a really good way of kind of combating that, which I'm not going to share with you guys, but it really is the cat and mouse game that you play. And I'll say this, most players play what I say free. It's called the player's mind. When you go fast, they don't have time to sit there and think about it and be, okay, man, that's a long play call. What parts of this, impact me, and what do I need to know? And so I like that part of it, because whether it's from the quarterback to the guard to the free safety to the boundary corner to the big defensive end, the three technique, you play on instincts. And most of these guys are really damn good on instincts. And sometimes, as coaches, you have to guard to not get in their way. And tempo allows them to have to do that play. I think you're playing football in the purest form when you go fast or you're using your tempo packages.
A couple of things. Number one, yesterday when you guys made the guys run, gassers or joggers or whatever.
I usually run, by the way. I usually do. Hey, but I was pissed, so I didn't. But I usually do. I'll make it up today. How about that?
That's fine. What about you is that I noticed some of your assistants run. All of them, but some of them ran with them. Can you just talk about the assistants, taking ownership, accountability, and running with the players?
Yeah, brotherhood. All in this thing together, man. We win as a team. We lose as a team. We're together, man. We're a family. We're a brotherhood. And it wasn't just them that didn't have the practice standard that it should have been. It was all of us. And truly, I should have run. But like I said, I was pretty irritated at the time. And I was calming myself down so that I could talk to them after they were done running.
You've talked earlier about not doing the 9-on-7s. And certainly you don't do the 1-on-1s, the 9-on-7s, 7-on-7s, a lot more teamwork. Is that something you had in your mind, next time I become a head coach, this is what I'm going to implement, or did the epiphany come this offseason?
No, it's been something over the past, I'd say 8-10 years. We'll do some 1-on-1. Like I said, the 1-on-1s we'll do, it'll be quick. And we do scripted matchups. It's designed matchups. We show them to the team so they have fun with it, and they look forward to the matchup. And but really the biggest thing is the game is such a team game. And again, 11-on-11 is the way the game is played. And I've always felt like, and maybe because I was actually pretty good in 7-on-7 back in college when I was a shitty quarterback, was like, it's just such an easy drill. You're like, he's open. Okay, nobody's open, but nobody's rushing me. So like, okay, what do I do now? It's just not realistic. It's not the way the game's played with the increase of pass rush and talent and draft capital and money that's being spent on defensive lines. I think it's a drill that can be used at times. Now, we do it some in the off season. Why? Well, you have limitations of bodies on the ground and things like that. But to say we'll never do it's not accurate. We will do it some, but I don't believe it's the best way to train your guys to play 11-on-11 football.
Last one, Nick. There are a couple of guys on your radar that kind of popped up on your radar before some camp starting. Like some guys, like when you were Ride Talk starting, you didn't expect to be playing as well as they are.
Let me look at the roster so I don't just throw out some names. Terp's having a great camp. Thought again, the backs. All the backs have done a really good job. Miles and Javonte, Jaden, I talked about them. Hunter Lepke. Really, the offensive line's been very competitive on defense. Donovan Wilson, just the communication. I was watching the talk through earlier and like, wow, just terrific. Kyrie Elam, another interception yesterday, right? He's a guy that's done it. But Malik Hooker, incredible camp, showing up every day, making plays, making communication. Talked a little bit about Marist, Troy Pride. It's actually funny. I kind of messed with the guys. We were talking about something the other day, and I said, yeah, Cable's told me that some of you guys have been moving way too fast. You need to slow down, and all their ears kind of perked up. And I paused, and I said, on the field. And we gave out speeding tickets to the guys that had the fastest time based on skill, mid, like Sam had the D-line, Geit had the O-line. It was, I think, Troy Pride had the fastest time, Deuce Vaughn. So, like, we had some fun with it. But you could see him like, oh, shit, Schotty's looking at, we're driving too fast? It's like, no, on the field. But we did hand out speeding tickets. So things like that, they're running, they're moving, and hopefully it's a hell of a day today. Yes, yes. And again, he's being forced to move into different spots. He's playing nickel, he's playing some safety, doing things like that. But, yeah, I would say Zion's one definitely should be in that group. All right. Thank you, guys.